Organized crime bosses have long been shrouded in mystery and infamy, playing pivotal roles in the underworld's complex networks. Organized crime refers to highly structured groups engaged in illegal activities, often driven by financial gain, operating outside the boundaries of legal governance. These bosses, at the helm of such syndicates, command vast networks, manipulating them to orchestrate crimes ranging from drug trafficking to money laundering. Understanding these figures is crucial as they not only shaped the criminal landscape of their time, but also influenced law enforcement practices, popular culture, and societal perceptions of crime. The significance of examining organized crime bosses lies in their transformation of crime into a systematic business, impacting economies and societies. For example, Al Capone, one of history's most infamous bosses, capitalized on prohibition in the United States to build a bootlegging empire in the 1920s, illustrating how crime syndicates can exploit legal loopholes for massive profits. His operations in Chicago showcase the intersection of organized crime and business acumen, generating an estimated $100 million annually. Similarly, Pablo Escobar of Colombia turned cocaine into a global commodity in the 1980s, amassing billions and exerting immense power over international drug trade. These figures demonstrate how crime bosses have historically been able to wield economic influence on par with legitimate enterprises. Opinions on organized crime bosses often reflect a blend of fascination and repulsion. Some see them as outlaw entrepreneurs who challenged societal norms, while others view them strictly as criminals whose activities cause significant social harm. These differing perspectives contribute to the complex narratives surrounding their legacies. However, the glamorization of these figures can overshadow the harsh realities of their operations. Despite their notorious success, crime bosses face significant challenges, including intense law enforcement scrutiny and rival gang conflicts. Many met their downfalls through betrayal within their organizations or relentless legal pursuits, reflecting the fragile nature of their empires. Exploring organized crime bosses' rise and fall provides valuable insights into the broader dynamics of illegal enterprises. It highlights the challenges of regulating crime and the evolving nature of criminal activities. Understanding their influence on both historic and modern contexts allows for a nuanced view of how organized crime adapts and persists. By comparing these past figures to contemporary crime bosses, we gain a deeper understanding of how illegal empires continue to thrive and the enduring impact of their legacies on society today. When examining the most notorious organized crime bosses in history, it's essential to understand the intricate web of power, influence, and criminal enterprise that allowed these figures to rise to prominence. Organized crime bosses are often characterized by their ability to establish extensive, hierarchical criminal networks engaged in illicit activities, such as drug trafficking, extortion, and money laundering. These individuals wield immense power and influence, impacting both the criminal underworld and broader society. The significance of exploring the lives and influence of top organized crime bosses lies in drawing parallels between their operations and those of modern-day criminals. By comparing historical figures to contemporary crime bosses, we can gain insights into the evolution of organized crime, track changes in law enforcement strategies, and understand how these figures evade legal systems. This analysis also sheds light on the socio-economic conditions that facilitate the growth of organized crime and the challenges faced by law enforcement. One prominent example is Al Capone, the infamous Prohibition-era gangster whose criminal empire in Chicago was built on illegal liquor sales, gambling, and vice. Known for his ruthlessness and strategic acumen, Capone's operations reportedly earned him over $100 million annually, at the height of his power. However, his downfall came with a conviction for tax evasion, illustrating the vulnerabilities in even the most formidable criminal enterprises. In contrast, Pablo Escobar, the Colombian drug lord, capitalized on the global demand for cocaine in the late 20th century. His Medellin cartel generated billions, challenging both Colombian and U.S. law enforcement. Escobar's reign ended when he was killed in a police operation, highlighting the relentless pursuit by authorities that eventually dismantled his empire. Opinions on organized crime bosses often oscillate between admiration for their strategic genius and repulsion for their methods. While some view them as anti-heroes who exploited systemic weaknesses, others emphasize the violence and corruption they propagate. However, chronicling the lives of crime bosses isn't without challenges. Romanticizing these figures can inadvertently glorify criminal lifestyles, diminishing the devastating impact of their actions on individuals and communities. Moreover, drawing direct comparisons between historic and modern criminals can be problematic due to differing historical contexts and legal frameworks. This examination of top organized crime bosses interconnects with broader discussions on law, economics, and society. By understanding their rise and fall, we glean valuable lessons about crime prevention, law enforcement evolution, and the socio-political circumstances that give rise to these figures, ultimately contributing to a more informed perspective on the complex nature of organized crime today. The rise of infamous crime figures is a captivating and often complex subject, rooted in a mix of historical, social, and economic factors that have allowed certain individuals to attain legendary status in the world of organized crime. These figures are not only notorious for their criminal enterprises, but also for their ability to capitalize on the weaknesses within legal, social, and economic systems to build vast, often illicit empires. Understanding their rise is crucial to drawing parallels between past and present organized crime, recognizing patterns in how crime networks evolve, and how their operations impact societies both negatively and at times through unintended beneficial socioeconomic effects. One salient example is Al Capone, perhaps the most infamous boss of the Prohibition era. Capone's rise was facilitated by the implementation of Prohibition, which created a lucrative black market for alcohol. His operations expanded rapidly, in part due to his ability to bribe law enforcement and officials, showcasing the significant role corruption played in his ascent. Another example is Pablo Escobar, the Colombian drug lord whose meteoric rise was tied to the global demand for cocaine during the late 20th century. His cartel's dominance was bolstered by his ability to exploit the lack of stringent international drug policies, as well as by employing extreme violence and strategic alliances to secure and expand his territory. The rise of these figures highlights the way socio-political environments can be manipulated by those seeking power and wealth outside the law. These crime bosses exploited systemic vulnerabilities, such as inadequate law enforcement and legal loopholes, which allowed them to grow their operations unchecked for extended periods. Opinions on this subject often underscore the necessity of understanding these rises to prevent similar figures from gaining comparable power today. However, the discussion is not without its challenges. There is a tendency to romanticize these figures, often overlooking the severe violence and social harm they inflicted. Alternative viewpoints suggest that focusing on these notorious individuals may inadvertently overshadow the broader systemic issues that permit organized crime to flourish, such as poverty, inequality, and corruption. In examining the rise of infamous crime figures, we can draw connections to how modern organized crime continues to evolve. The methods may have changed, with cybercrime and global drug trafficking becoming more prevalent, but many of the fundamental strategies remain the same. This exploration allows us to better understand the forces at play in both historical and contemporary contexts, offering insights into how modern crime bosses operate and are ultimately brought down by law enforcement, rival factions, or internal betrayal. The concept of exploring and comparing the top organized crime bosses in history to modern-day criminal enterprises is a captivating one, offering a unique lens through which to understand the evolution of organized crime. This approach involves not only examining historical figures known for their notorious exploits, but also understanding the socio-economic dynamics they navigated to rise to power, and, ultimately, what led to their downfall. The significance of this exploration lies in its ability to shed light on the timeless nature of organized crime, while highlighting the changes in law enforcement, technology, and social structures over time. By analyzing the wealth these individuals amassed, the legal troubles they faced, and the operations they ran, viewers can gain insights into the mechanics of organized crime and its impact on society both historically and today. For instance, Al Capone, one of the most infamous crime bosses from the Prohibition era, built an empire based on illegal liquor distribution, amassing significant wealth. Yet, he was ultimately brought down by tax evasion charges, illustrating how even the most untouchable figures can fall due to legal and procedural loopholes. In contrast, modern-day crime bosses, such as Joaquin El Chapo Guzman of the Sinaloa cartel, have adapted to globalized trade and advanced technology, exponentially increasing their criminal enterprise's scope and complexity. Supporting opinions emphasize that understanding these historical and modern figures reveals the adaptability and resilience of organized crime. This analysis can be a potent tool for law enforcement and policymakers, providing lessons that can help anticipate and combat future criminal activities. However, exploring these topics presents challenges and controversies. Glorifying or romanticizing crime figures can be a significant pitfall, potentially overshadowing the victims of their actions and the societal harm they cause. Critics might argue that focusing too much on the financial aspects detracts from the human cost. Moreover, modern organized crime often operates within a more sophisticated and transnational framework, complicating direct comparisons with historical figures. This discussion connects to broader themes within the main topic, such as the evolution of criminal tactics and law enforcement strategies. It influences how we perceive crime today, highlighting the need for updated methods to combat evolving threats. By drawing parallels between the past and present, the narrative can emphasize how lessons learned from history can inform contemporary approaches to dismantling organized crime networks, making this exploration both educational and compelling for viewers.